Good evening, good evening, good evening. How is everybody doing? This is the African Speaks, and I am Ajay, the African. And we have been, I know I've been missing some days. I know I've been missing some days. Summertime is ended for some of my kids. So, it's been a lot going on. There's been a whole lot going on. So, but we're going to play catch up. We definitely going to play catch up. And so we're gonna get it. Wait. Offline, offline, offline. Why is every okay? So now we have a delay in the live stream. So hopefully people can get it on time and in time and everything is looking good. All right. Let me get this straight together. Peace and blessings, family. So if y'all seeking to send me a message, y'all can send it to me on the YouTube page. You can send me on the Facebook page. You can, public pages. I should be able to see them. So peace and blessings, peace and blessings. We have been talking about the Ubuntu generation. And so this has been where we are. We got 52 weeks of lessons. We've been developing, we've been healing, we've been moving forward, trying to access the kingdom within, right? We know that Ubuntu, as a philosophy, means I am because we are. However, here we changed the definition. We extended the definition. Let's say that. I am because we are, and we are because of the great I am. And I had somebody ask me one time, what does it mean by great? I said, that's the creator. That's the source. That's whoever you connect to as the most high. And so that doesn't X out any spiritual discipline. It doesn't X out any spiritual discipline. I am because we are, and we are because of the great I am. And when I heard that phrase, I was told close the circle. Because if we leave it as I am because we are, and we are because I am, it only stays as a social dynamic. But when you connect it back to the creator, I am because we are because I am. It closes the circle. And understanding that we got this philosophy way before language even came, way before culture even came, way before traditions even came. We were a people who understood our interconnectedness with nature, and that's everything in nature, our interconnectedness with each other, and the depth of consciousness within ourselves. So, in this space where we're dealing with the coming of the Ubuntu generation, we're not trying to do anything new. I sat down and said, Ubuntu, this movement, this philosophy, this understanding, this experience, it's no different than understanding of the saying, go back to get or fetch what's behind you. And it's not the fact that you could leave it behind. It was just covered up because you can't lose it. This wisdom of Ubuntu, you can't, it's not lost. It is placed, that consciousness, awareness of our connection to all things, it is buried deep inside you. And that is the only way we find ourselves at the bottom of the human totem pole, because we are unaware of what was placed in us. At the moment of our creation, I am because we are. The African genotype is the first genotype to step foot on the earth. Everything comes from us. We are the parent race. But our children, our maladjusted children, are running the world. And so Ubuntu is to realign you with what you knew before you could even talk. Realign you with the language you have, the relationship you have, the connection you have with all things around you before you were aware of even what your name was. And we'll get there. And so, yes, that's that Sankofa moment where we going back. And so for us to get to that point where we're functioning, where we pick up what was buried inside us to bring it forward, right? I don't know if anybody saw the Sankofa. If I'm speaking to a generation that never saw a Sankofa, go look at the movie Sankofa. You got to see it. We had to deal with a bit of Black reality. We had to have the awakened African mind develop. So we had to first tell you who you were and who you weren't. Who you were and who you weren't. The conditioned self versus the African consciousness, that Afro-conscious experience that shows you, wow, I'm connected to divine thought. Everything about my makeup can be used to align me with the frequency of the Most High. Everything about us. We are vibrating tools like that. And so we went through this, the awareness, clarity, and restarting the narrative. And you said, well, restarting the narrative? Yes, because most of us function from the space of our enslavement. But if you go further than that and you reach that point where you're kings and queens. But then if you go further than that, wait a minute, Ajay, you saying go further before we're kings and queens? Yes, because before we developed civilization, we were still spiritual beings. We were spiritual beings that understood our relationship. And from those spiritual beings, that understanding, that connection is when we built the empires. And in the motherland, you can sit down and say, hey, there are 100, 200, 2,700 different tribes, but each tribe had a process to express their relationship and connection to the Most High. And so we went from there, and that was in the first 3 months. We spent 3 months right here. 3 months to develop identity. 3 months. And then we shifted and we dealt with healing, because now you know who you are and what was done to you. We went to the healing factor, healing and reclamation. We got to reclaim ourselves. Talking about intergenerational trauma and intergenerational trauma, patterns that maintain and sustain our trauma. And then when you understanding the patterns of your own behavior that keeps the spiritual amnesia in place, you got to undo those patterns. You got to shift, because now you stuck. And I remember in my transformation, my journey, right? And my guide was telling me, brother, you moving pretty fast. Yeah, because I know what it's like to live life, my first half of my life, disconnected. I want to live the next half connected. The beginning half, we're going to say, if I live it in thirds, 1/3 of my life disconnected. Well, these 2/3, I'm living more connected than I did disconnected. And that's the part, that restoration part. But then once you start realizing your own triggers and you start moving in line with who you were called, more in line with who you were called, now it's time to shift to power, purpose, and creation. So that's where we are at this particular quarter: power, purpose, and creation. How powerful are you? What is your purpose? And then what are you here to create? And that's the part we are tapping into I think we got 2 more months to go. We're on week 31, right? And so we got to pull from that. And before we get into that, before we start that, I want to sit down and say, because I'm in my journey just as much as you are. And so when I'm called or told about, hey, brother, you have a new divine assignment. And most of the time, people are always asking me, why are you always doing what you do? And it's not an assignment from my community, because my community is not the highest level of direction or instruction. It is the experience and presence of your ancestors and God. You were born for a reason. You were born with power. You were born with a purpose to create something. What is that? And nobody can tell you what that is. But that's the process of going inside. I got something coming for you on Sunday evening soon. Going internal. But before we jump into this lesson, I want to let you know that next week is considered Wisdom Week because the month of August is Garvey month. And Garvey is the quintessential saint, patron saint in my community. This brother was sitting there trying to figure out how to make man. And that means mankind. How can I get you to function the way that you were called and you were created? And I sat down and said to myself, I said, I heard it. It's time to challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to a higher level of studying, meditating, and teaching for the whole month of August. However, I'm going to set it off Wisdom Week because of World of Akibaland, we have a whole mission for the fall. School is about to go back, and we're about to announce all that. So for me to get to that point where I'm diving deeper into our youth, I'm told to drop a little something on behalf of the parents and those who may not have children. So if you remember the series, The Power of the Divine Self, which connected to how to make man, if you look at it properly. And I'll give books that I've read and everything else in this process so that you get it. But this is a 33 chapter, I had to count to where I'm at. This was a 33 chapter series that I didn't finish the last 5. And so the last 5, you're going to hear it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. By Friday, this chapter have been completed. And I'm told, hey, brother, this needs to be a book. This needs to be a curriculum, which it is. But it had to come out of me. The assignment had to come in me. The information had to be downloaded, and it had to come out. And so next week, starting Monday, 7, I'm almost ready to complete, but Monday, 7, this will be launched. And then that following week, we'll jump back into the Ubuntu, which if you listen and you followed us, and if you need to catch up on the other 29 chapters, go to YouTube because they're all there. But these last 5 are going to be that powerhouse setting, and you'll be able to connect the two. You'll be able to connect the two, the power of the divine self as well as Ubuntu. And then what's happening on Sunday? It's a full circle. Again, I am because we are, but we are because of the great I am. I do not gatekeep. So you will get the information. So y'all be on the lookout for this because the advertisements start going out tomorrow. This is about full one mind, one people, one destiny. And we are not starting from the beginning. We're at the end where you experience the power of your being. What does it mean to activate the power of the divine self? Truly. This is going to go beyond some other individuals' conversation. But this is that consciousness. So now we are in that space where Q3, we're talking about the harmony within. When power becomes creation. So in this space, wait a minute, we can talk about the power of the Afro consciousness, the power of the black mind, the power of the being. But then you like, wait, what am I supposed to be creating with that? And so this is that walk through that power. And so in it, the first thing that we have to look at when you sit down and we talk about power, we talk about duality. Understanding that everything is created in twos. And you have to master the duality that you are. And I'll start with talking about men, because women are straight X and X chromosome, but we have X and Y, the duality of who we are. One, as a male, you're not supposed to be more Y than X and more X than Y. And I always talk against my own understanding of my own duality. I tell them my X is real small, but my Y is humongous. I'm a man's man. However, we're supposed to be built. Our strength is supposed to be accompanied with compassion. Our leadership is supposed to be accompanied with stewardship, discipleship. Our joy is supposed to be followed up with sadness. You cannot escape experiencing duality. It's everywhere. You got the sun and the moon. You got water, and then you have a drought, a desert. Duality. And it's in everything. Everything. Male, female, duality. But in that space, when you're going through things and your emotions are flowing, every challenge you got is an opportunity to master the feelings, to navigate yourself back to a state of harmony. Every challenge, every conflict, every choice builds the awareness of duality and how to use it. And when you get that harmony master, it tells you, that means, who am I supposed to be in the circumstance in which I'm in? Who am I supposed to be? What is supposed to come through me at this time? When people ask me, where are you getting all this information? I said, I can't tell you. Why? Because it's not me. It's not me. The higher self, yeah, that comes from the internal higher power within. And then you can get down and get the silly me. Some people was like, I still can't take him serious. Why? Because he play too much. He play too much. Always. Always. This is why Worlds of Akibaland works for me, because I get them to move in a state of fun, but then also move in a state of seriousness. We had a lesson this past Sunday. There's a time for everything. And that's the issue of understanding duality. There's a time and a place for everything. Time to live, time to die. There's a time and a place for everything. So to master that and master self, you have to know what time and what place gets the best of you. I have a lot of individuals at this particular time going through mourning of the loss of a loved one. Duality. We changed it to the celebration of life so that mourning is not heavy. Pause. No. You mourn with the same strength as you celebrate. Duality. You find harmony in that space, in the alignment of who you are. You move in balance. I'm going to cry without crying, and I'm going to cry, but I'm going to give thanks to the Most High for the time and the experience I got to spend with the person. Duality. And you got to be able to express that. You got to know when. Just because somebody yelling at you doesn't mean you yell back. Maybe they need some compassion. Duality. You got to know how to always maintain harmony within inside yourself. Always. You can speak in authority at times and still be humble to receive. You got some people who sit down and they beat their chest, and that's all they know how to do. And that mastery of self is not necessarily the destination. Wholeness is the destination. Once you learn you, all parts of you will be used to manifest your purpose, your power. One power, one purpose, one power, one self. It is the journey to becoming the highest state of you. I am complete. I am connected. I am the creator of my reality. It is the journey of being that co-creator. Because once you master that scenario, power versus force, let's get that before I switch. Because now oh, wait a minute, I have a little power. Every time You wake up. There's not anything about your energy that is not creating or building something. Everybody is always in the process of creating, whether it's a positive upliftment or whether it's negative. You even can create neutral energy that produces zero. It's still in creation. You are still in creation. And that's the part of understanding. I have some power. Now, what am I supposed to be doing with it? Now, the awakened mind builds in that power, not force. Force is intimidation. Force is coercion. Force is instituting fear. That's not power. Power is communal. Power is insightful. It's inspiring. It's encouraging. That's power. And to build in a state of power is different than building in a state of force. Beast mode is force. I tell kids, there's another level than beast mode. What? Who has dominion over all the beasts on earth? The warrior. Warrior mode, that African mode. Grab onto that. You walk into a state of infinite wisdom, creativity, capabilities. You got to learn what to do with that power. You are a co-creator. Everything about you is creating or should be creating. Why? That's why you're called. You're like, huh? And again, this is straight recap. Straight recap. That's why you are called. And we got to get to that. Get to that point where you understand. Now we're moving into that space this week where we're dealing with the coming of the Ubuntu generation. We're on week 31. Purpose as a collective assignment. Purpose as a collective assignment. You're like, what? Our whole life in the presence of spiritual amnesia, we all about self. Our life, we're all about, and a lot of times when people say I am because we are and we are because I am, still it's all about self. Just because you act dress black, we ain't gonna say black, dress conscious, walk in conscious environments, give conscious upliftments doesn't mean that your purpose is aligned to a communal state. We like, what? Kemet called this Tahuti. You cannot pinpoint where these thoughts come from. It just comes out. It speaks through you. Exactly. I hope you got this right, my brother. Exactly. It just comes through you. When you're connected, when you are bind, coercion creates compliance. Power awakens choice. Harmony is born only where choice and truth meet. That's Sister Najuma. Appreciate you. I can't see the house of. I can't see that, but one love. Thank you for dropping in the statements. We got to go beyond to that point where, and I had a friend who, I wanted to do a show on spiritual downloads. That might be something on another statement when we talk about that. Where things are just open up. Your crown chakra is a receptive, is a receiver. It's a receiver and a transmitter. You going up and down here, up and down, in communication on levels of consciousness that you can't even fathom. Why? Because of the spiritual amnesia. But we're moving into that space where the spiritual amnesia dissipates. That's when you start dealing with the purpose of collective assignments. And so when we take a look at this, we tell ourselves and we get it. And you understand that you were never created only for the sake of yourself. You were not created just for you. You are a divine manifestation. You're a divine manifestation of divine thought. You're a manifestation of divine thought. You are a concept. You are a creation of the Most High, however you want to define it. And a lot of people define their relationship or interaction with the Creator differently. But if it doesn't get you back to receiving those downloads and getting your divine assignment, not because somebody told you to, but because you heard a voice in your being. When we get through that healing phase and you get into this that reclamation, reclaiming what is you, moving away from that spiritual amnesia, reclaiming who you are and realizing that, wait a minute, this philosophy is a philosophy of interconnectedness, and I was not sent here to this earth for the sake of me. We always talk about going inward to that kingdom within. Now, even when you journey into the kingdom within inside yourself, you still end up in the experience of engaging your own ancestors. All those who existed since the beginning of time. You never go in and you only experience just you. You will see and hear their voices like they are, like live. I'm telling you, that's how this hits for me. I get hit in the head saying, brother, produce. And I get up. I produce. When I had my first diviner, I was told they are not upset, but they like, hey, they need you to respond faster. I'm responding as fast as I can now. In the midst of my seasoned years, walking into my salt and pepper, and you see I got more salt than pepper. I'm listening more and more and responding more and more, separate myself from what is Eurocentric in design to create the experience that when I produce something, I produce it from the state of knowing that my life becomes meaningful because it helps life continue to flourish. The African diaspora cannot move until everybody gets to a point where we're not talking Black, we're living Afro-conscious. Where everything that we do, all the gifts, all the talents, everything about us, I understand that what is birthed through me is birthed for the sake of life. Art. I had a kid this past week when I sat down and said, nothing you do or produce belongs to you. And he got upset. My animation don't belong to me. My art is not mine. Dude, where'd you get the creativity from? Where did you get it from? To claim it for yourself. And I said, do you realize that everybody that gets an award, I don't care what platform it is, regardless what type of music they sing, you know what I mean, or what they write, they all thank the creator first. Then they thank the people behind that. Why? Because without the gifts that are internal that can't nobody take away, no one can take those gifts away. You can only ignore them. But when you are connected, once you're connected and we're in that space where we have reclaimed ourselves, we understand that our lives become more meaningful when it helps the lives of the people that are around you flourish. Ain't that something? You want to experience the Most High? Try living for something other than your own individual needs. And I had to look in the camera for that because we have a lot of people, even in our community, that are functioning from Black reality, but not from Afro consciousness. Those are two different things. I might have a conversation to talk about the difference between the two. You can talk Black, but you're not Afro conscious. I am because we are. We are because of the great I am. I am that. I am. Why? Because there is nothing we can produce, create, or do, or even become without that. And that is absolutely, wholeheartedly correct. What comes out of you that is given? And then after you produce it, because I do have somebody who produces for the community, and every time she produces an event, she beats her chest to say, see what I did. And I shake my head and say, every time we give this person a open door, we're helping the manifestation of individualism. So do you see the individualism in this experience? Yeah. Horrible. We got to be able to see that. But when you heal from it, when you heal from the generational and intergenerational traumas, and you're functioning from your highest state of self, you get to this experience. And then you can sit down and you get it. Wait a minute. No gift reaches its highest expression in isolation. I don't do this for the sake of me. I do this for the development and the upliftment of those around me. Wisdom becomes culture when it is shared. What? Wisdom becomes culture when it is shared. Knowledge becomes legacy when it is taught. We have individuals who won't teach. They just want to shine. Healing becomes community when it is extended. Leadership becomes service when it develops other leadership, not looking for something that somebody did in their own life and saying, hey, since you did this and let me see your resume, that's nice. That's not leadership. Leadership is when you pour yourself into a younger generation so that when you transition, you move. Not the fact that I'm only going to sit down and look at those who are producing and I'm going to let their individualism come in. No. My community said we will produce the leaders we need. And when you hear the creator speak, we will watch you create and support the leadership within you. Why? Because it's divinely given. I had a conversation with one of the brothers in our community, and I told him, you give out assignments, personal assignments, not divine assignments. And he looked at me. I said, when are you going to stop giving out personal assignments and watching people not do well and give out divine assignments for those who already show the anointing because they've been in the environment? And he sat back and looked at me and he said, man, that's a sermon. Absolutely. Your purpose is not simply about fulfilling yourself. And you can see that if you ask a child to do a vision board and all they talk about is themselves and their wealth and what they want to wear, what they want to drive, and how they want to live, and nothing is connected to community, you got a lot of work to do. You got tons of work to do. You got to sit down and fix this mindset in a child so that way as the child grows, they are becoming more rooted in the Ubuntu philosophy. I am because we are, and we are because of the great I am. And I told the young brother, at 12, you're locked in. And he's 12, turning 13. He's 13. So he's locked into a survival mindset. And that's why you think everything that you're writing, coloring, drawing, producing belongs to you. Now, when we're dealing with legalities in the greater world, yes, IP, intellectual property, you want to keep that. Why? Because somebody will take advantage of you with that. But when you're in a communal environment, look at the image. Sharing is love. Sharing is love. It's about strengthening the entire human family. That's who we used to be. We had no problem sharing everything we had with everything that came out of us until the negative, evil part that came out of us decided to take it all for themselves. We didn't see that coming. Now that we saw it coming, we should be able to flip it back. But it's a journey that we have to take to heal yourself, heal your community, heal your people, heal the diaspora, then heal humanity. What? That's the journey. As each person aligns with their assignment. And you can't get your assignment if you ain't putting that work in. But when you align with your assignment, the community becomes healthier, stronger, wiser, more creative. And you can tell if your community is slowly dying, there's something happening with that level of reality within, that consciousness within. Mm. We got to transform for the sake of the collective, not for the sake of the individual. Mm. But collective transformation begins with individual alignment. Now let's say that. That's different. It's different than development. Alignment is different than development. Being aligned is walking in the reasons that you were here. Being aligned is walking in the reasons of why you were here. And I can sit down and tell you in this space, back in the day, way back in the day, before our engagements with the Eurocentric genotype, the shaman or the diviner of the community used to speak to the being in the pregnant woman. Because God knew you before he formed you in the womb. You know who you are before you even hit the physical realm. And they communicated with the being inside. That's when we're connected in all things. There's one being, the diviner, that says and said, this is my job to help us understand or communicate with that which we can't see anymore. She said, this is truly achieving and coined statement of breaking the generational curses, leaving a living inheritance for generations yet born. Exactly. I'm playing catch up on the what's name because that I think that came from another slide. Now, in this space, the diviner seeks and says, hey, this person is coming through. This person's name is, and this person's purpose and skill set is. That's why every time you look at biblical names in the Old Testament, they all got deep meanings. Hezekiah, Zechariah, Malachi, all of them got deep meanings. They define who you are before birth. And then when Abraham had to do it, Abraham got his name after. This name changing ceremony, powerful. Why? Because we're dealing with amnesia, spiritual amnesia. Spiritual amnesia. But at one point, we knew who we were supposed to be before we built you can't build African empires without having that Afro consciousness that we're all interconnected. And we're here to create, build, and develop and grow. So who are you? And I remember being invited to the Sunni temple and asked to speak during the Ramadan phase. And I said, sure. And they said, well, tell us about yourself. I gave them my name. Ajay Okono Tahemba Tulanagwe. Prophet of God, it is your turn. Build a nation, and because God is with us. Sorry. I sat down and my mom was in the back and she said, this is who you are. My grandmother told my mother when I was born, you were born to be a preacher. You're going to give the word. Prophet of God, it is your turn. Build a nation because God is with us. That's a definition. So now there is nothing I can do in my journey that if I begin to do something in my journey that is other than who I'm called to be, then I'm not in alignment. That doesn't mean I can't achieve things that, during my development and creation of my phase, man, I had a photography company, web development company, live streaming company. I had some things. Cleaning company. But those weren't aligned. And I remember the time where God said, build me something I can work through. Build me something I can work through. That's when you move from self to service, from me to we. And then you can get that other half. I am because, or we are because of the great I am. We are because of the great I am. You're moving from me to we. You're slowly, continually surrendering to the Most High, and then that's where you will receive your assignments. What is life asking you to become for others? Time to think about it now. What is life asking you to become for the sake of others? And if your vision, your dreams, your desires are not tied to that question that you're asking yourself with all the gifts, talents, characteristics that you have inside you, they're not supposed to be just for you. What is life asking me to become for others? How am I supposed to contribute to that community, that family, that community, the African diaspora? Where's that coming from? Then you develop friends and relationships where you collaborate in purpose, for purpose, creating a lasting impact. Legacy. Legacy. That's in the fourth quarter, where you deal with what it means to leave legacy. And so there's an escalation, and we're getting there when we're talking about the Ubuntu process, the Ubuntu philosophy, breaking down everything to get you back to who you are called. Can you get to that? Purpose is not a solo journey. It is a collective destiny. And I will always say this. Cardinal Mwenda said, you know, a black man has heard from the Most High when he is dead set on completing an assignment and he needs no encouragement from anybody. He might get direction, but everything is internal and he just doesn't stop. When I heard that, I had to sit back and say, I'm not there. I'm not there. If I can help you according to what I'm doing, fine. But I got my, my life outside. I wasn't there until I was. Hence, World of Akibaland. Hence, DaAfrican Speaks. Hence, the Pan-African Kids Council. Y'all hadn't seen nothing yet. We about to get it. Hence, Afroverse. We about to come with some things now. We're going to put out everything that we've been doing and the additives that we have to it. We're about to create a world of Akibaland. And all the inspiration from that comes from within. And so as you go on this journey, we're going to sit down and your takeaways for the night. Serve with purpose. We have individuals who have jobs that, bus drivers, serve with purpose. You greet, bless everybody that you see. It is your job not only just to get them safely, but when they walk in, they see you and you are the one transferring them from A to B. Good morning. How are you doing? Yeah. All right. Have a good day when they leave. That connection, that interaction, that relationship. And I've had that every time. Catch the bus. If I see that same bus driver every morning, hey, here you go. Guy, how's it going? Hey, Miss Lady, you doing good? Yeah, all right. Time for another work day. Hey, we all getting to it. Tried it. My daughter used to sit down and say, Daddy, do you speak to everybody on the bus? Depends. Because at duality, I'm not always happy, so I don't fake it. I went out with Bishop Jabari the other day and we went in the supermarket and I started talking to boom, 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 boom. I was in my zone and he just laughed. He said, man, you crazy. I said, yeah, I am. I'm connected to everybody. But serve on purpose, everything. On purpose, with purpose, because of the purpose. We are called to be a people of the Most High. Build in community, not by yourself, not just in your personal family, not just in your single relationship, but in community. We have individuals trying to get rich to flash their money in the individuals' faces that are still trying to develop some sense of abundance. So you sell your concept. I sit down and say, you know what? I try not to give things for free, but if you come and you ask, I don't gatekeep. People say, how do you do what you do? Ah, yeah, this is what I do. This is how I do it. But you got to have the nerve and the guts to come and ask and look me in the eye. And then I'm going to talk to you to see if you're building community or you just building self. And I've lost friends when they asked me to do certain things and help them. But when they were building self, I said, I can't do that. Why? I said, because that's going to take away from my time. Build in community. 3, cultivate what matters. I invest my time, my energy, resources into what creates a lasting life. And I don't destroy relationships. I try to convert them into something that is healthy. Let me convert this into something that I can cultivate so that I can move forward. Why? Because there's purpose in everyone. Purpose in all of us. And can we cultivate what matters, which is the ministry inside all of us? I'm always trying to cultivate that. Create solutions. Use the creativity and skills to solve problems and inspire change. For those who are trying, like the kids say, hey, I want a live stream. I said, okay, so what's your niche? And then your niche, they say. What is it? What are you trying to solve? What are you sharing about you that helps uplift somebody who's watching you? Because if it's all about silly, I can't help you. Let's go. Then leave a legacy. Live today in a way that builds a better tomorrow for you and your family, you and your ancestors, you and your community, the African diaspora, and humanity. Shoot. Big. That's legacy. I pour into every child I see. I was told at a young age, treat every child like they were yours. They said there is a gift you have with raising and directing children. And the way to manifest this gift, you must treat every child like they're yours. People can't understand it. How do you do what you do? It's an anointing and it's a divine assignment. How do you not do what you're called to do? And normally, before I could define it, I use, how do you do that? Well, how do you not? This is a part of the essence of my being, and it's the essence of your being, building community. And so, because of that, I am always and forever in the process of making sure that that next generation, that generation that comes behind me, are prepared. They understand that you have to deconstruct the parents because they were taught wrong, but all you do with children is guide them right. Guide them to their highest self. They already have some. If your kid don't believe that they're invincible, that means the world has gotten to them quick. Because most kids be like, oh, that curiosity, that brain is just getting started. I just want to go try. When they had that fear, and okay, you got to speak to that because there's something about their life that keeps them in that fear space. Guide them to becoming their ultimate selves. And so, do they have the lessons that are guided? Absolutely. Absolutely. I convert the curriculum for the adults into the child version. And in this situation with Ubuntu, I've converted the curriculum for the kids into an adult version because their curriculum came first. Their curriculum to develop first. I see them more than I see you. I interact with them more than I interact with you. And so imagine your child functioning at their highest state of awareness, knowing how to love. You see how even in this one, we're dealing with it's not wrong to feel, but how you process your feelings mean a lot. Duality was in week 18. Y'all had to wait till like quarter, what, 3, because they don't have the issues you have. And so it is our job to create something as a legacy that when we leave, I had a sister who Deja Naba, Reverend Deja Naba was on the show, World of Akibaland, and she helped to start the Akibaland experience. Now, I haven't had Reverend Monifa up here yet, but I will when I go back to interviewing people. But Deja Naba sat down and she said, I couldn't take my hand off the plow. She's in retirement age. It's hard for me to let go. Why? Because I couldn't see what was coming behind me. And then you pick World of Akibaland up and you're running with it. And nobody it's just him. He saw the vision that others couldn't see. Now I'm sharing it, calling people in, creating collaborations. One love to the Friends of Congo, because the Friends of the Congo are creating collaborations with other organizations for our youth to work with. Y'all get ready for what we about to drop. And get ready for that Afroverse. We about to blow your mind. So what we ask you, as you move into your greater self, you can't enter into the kingdom of God if you have not been born again. And most people don't even understand what that means. You have to get back to the being that God called you to be. The Bible is written in code, so the wrong person cannot take it and corrupt the power that you can get from it. You don't enter the womb again. You decondition yourself to get back to your highest sense of consciousness that links you to the Creator. Now, imagine kids who don't have to go through that decondition process. You have a generation that is all powerful and are able to maneuver within the world that they live in because they understand it. So if you've heard something that moved you today in the African Speaks, don't forget next week we are dealing, it's going to be Wisdom Week. So I'm shooting 5 days. And I've been told and hearing that I got a 7th day curriculum to add on to it, but it's going to be something different. And I'm like, okay, we're going to see if we can produce that. And I'm going to do my best. But if you heard something that moved you, that you agreed with, join the mission. Go to worldofakibaland.org. You know what I mean? Donate. Like I have people sitting there hitting me up. Some people hit me up on the phone. Some people hit me up on the stream. Join the conversation. If you're in Atlanta, Detroit, Houston, go to the PAOCC. Bring a child. Let us build the next generation of wisdom within the body temples of our youth. And in that space, yeah, I can see the African in you and all the kids that come rise. With that being said, hey, I got nothing but love for you, baby. So, one love. Wisdom Week next week. See you then. Peace.